Hi all, today we are going to paint tulip in watercolor. Here I am using cold press 140 lb watercolor paper. You can use hot press paper too for botanical paintings. Tape down your watercolor paper on a flat surface to prevent it from buckling. Lightly sketch the outline of the tulip with a pencil. Sketch the stem. Mix your colors beforehand. For this tulip, we will need pink, purple, black, green for stem. Wet the petal with clean water. I wet the area just enough to blend the colors softly. Work quickly and lightly, allowing the paint to flow naturally. Again, the same process with other petal. Damp the area of the petal. Use a light diluted wash of pink as a base color. I also use light purple for the base color. Now for the background petals, use more darker shades of little red mixed with natural tint and tinge of pink. Cover the whole area. All the background petals you cover with the same dark shades of the color. These are base layers we are putting. We are doing layering after this base layer dries. This petal is kind of in background and foreground, so for highlights we are using purple, and dark shadows we are using the same background color for background petals. Cover the area with darker tones. I'm using kind of milky consistency for the background petals. Now again wet the area of this middle petal. Same process is here. Use pink and purple for the base colors and leave the highlight areas white. I use little very dilute purple there. Now with the second layer, use less diluted mix of petal color to add second layer, focusing on the shadowed areas, typically at the base of each petal and the areas where the petals overlap. We will do the dark shades of pink. I'm using a milky consistency of pink here. Applied the thick layer and now again softening those edges, going more dark darker with the going more darker with the shades. Wait, I used magenta and natural tint and pink mix here for the darker shades. Use very thick layer at the edges. Leave the middle area for highlight, soften those edges. I use medium size brush for this layer, applied the colors across the petal. While it is still damp, we'll go for another layer of darker shades. It is just damp enough. Now we are going for second layer on this petal, and make sure the first layer is dry completely, otherwise the colors will get muddy if you apply the second layer while it's still wet enough. So make sure it is completely dry, and then go for second layer. Apply the mix of pink and magenta, leaving the white highlights, and soften those edges. Adding more black to your petal mix with the same brush. Paint the deepest shadows, emphasizing the natural curves and folds of the petals, leaving that highlight area as it is. Going for third layer now for the shadows. Just the shadow part we are doing. Use reference photo for this. Maybe it's looking weird for now, but we'll cover that in next layer. Soften those edges again. Make sure you soften edges all the time. That gives more natural look. We are giving glazing that petal with pink, and now this petal we are glazing with diluted purple color. It's very diluted purple color. We're just applying a layer of it that gives a glazing to the petal. While that layer is still damp, we are charging in more darker shades to the petal. We'll cover all the shadows with more dark shades, leaving the highlights. And soften the edges again. We are almost reaching the level where we are achieving the color of the tulip, the reference photo. Keep those highlight areas. Lift up some of the colors if you are while it is still damp. You can lift the colors. Now with the background petals, go for second layering of red. Just dilute red color mix we are using, not milky consistency. Oh, I forgot to add one petal there, so I'm adding it now. Now with the middle Petal, same thing. Go for the other layer with darker shades of magenta and natural tint, still leaving the highlights. Cover all the shadows with the same color. Apply the milky consistency. Apply darker shade to the base of the petal and areas where the petals overlap. Blend carefully to create smooth transitions between light and dark areas. Watercolor painting requires patience, especially when waiting for layers to dry. Rushing can lead to muddy colors and less defined details. While it is still damp, I use watery red color, just dropped some of it. Give glazing with red color, and now with the smallest of your brush, add details such as vents and subtle color variations. Use a mix of your petal color and touch more water for these fine details. Gently paint the vents, following the natural direction on the petals. Keep your strokes light and delicate. Use your smallest brush. I'm here using Princeton's zero number zero liner brush. With darker mix of your colors, give darker vents and some vents in the background. If needed, add another layer of darker shades to the deepest shadow areas to enhance the contrast. Again with darker tones, address the shadows and color, and add more darker veins at this point. It's like hatching you do in sketching. Those are s- same strokes. As you can see, it's just I'm using hatching with the fine brush with the same color, but that will give more darker shades in a natural way. So cover the whole petal wherever you want the darker shades. Go for that hatching strokes and cover that area. It's slowly building the layers in watercolor. I speeded the process there because it's almost I'm doing the same hatching technique to cover the whole petal whenever and wherever necessary. I'm using a lighter purple to cover the highlight area. Here also I'm using fine lines. I'm using my smallest brush to give that fine lines. For darker shades, we have to go for second layer of lines so that the overall composition looks good. We are almost done with the flower. Just repeating the process to achieve the same color as reference photo. More darker shades. I'm using pink here, a light watery pink, just to give the glazing. Again the pink. Now this watery pink will just give the glazing to the petals. Using light purple to cover the highlight area. Now using black to cover the folds of the petal. We are almost done with the flower. Just touching last touches here and there. If you are not happy with the colors, you can go for more darker shades. And at the base, it's little white there, so use little purple to cover that area. Now with the stem, I use little yellow as a base. Cover the whole stem with yellow. Now just charging with sap green. Soften the edges. Shadow there with the dark purple. I'm using smallest brush. And we are almost done with the flower. Hope you like this tutorial of tulip and you enjoyed watching it. If you like it, give me thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more updates. Keep painting. Happy painting, all you guys. Thank you for watching video.